Welcome to part 2, where we talk about generation number 2 of streetcar systems. So did you know that a city can influence an entire country? Have you seen this 2-decade-old trend in your city? A modern streetcar. Wonder how that came to be. Portland. Portland was the reason. My hometown, kinda. I don't really live in Portland, but close enough. Portland is who got the ball rolling on this whole modern streetcar trend. They were the first. It's a new route, it has new vehicles, new operations, new technology, all of that sort of thing, and it opened all the way back in 2001. Since then, 14 additional cities in the United States have built streetcar systems of their own. Yeah, safe to say we had an influence on the nation here. Pretty cool, really. Portland's system has the highest ridership and the longest system length out of any of these systems, and so they did something right. We have two and a half lines at a system length of 7.35 miles. Hey, look, I know it sounds small, but trust me, it just gets worse from here. We use Skoda and related Skoda vehicles for our system, which were not US built because nobody was doing this in the US yet, as well as newer United Streetcar vehicles built locally in Oregon at Oregon Iron Works. They're about 66 feet long, and I have my issues with all of these, which I'll discuss in the next video. Yeah, this is like a little mini-series. The next part of this, I'll discuss my issues with these vehicles, but for now, we're just going to acknowledge that they exist and they are what are being used. Oh, and the reason why I say that the streetcar's 2.5 lines is because we have the NS line, the A loop, and B loop. Now, I know that sounds like 3 lines, but really the A and B loops are exactly the same. It's just the A loop travels clockwise and the B loop travels counterclockwise. So, 2.5. We're on reduced schedule right now, so yeah, take that into account here. But the streetcars run every 17 to 26 minutes. The schedules are kind of a mess. Yeah. Not great. So now let's more briefly talk about the rest of the second generation streetcar systems in the US. But first, I'm going to talk about 2 things that I am not going to be including in this list. Number 1, heritage systems. These are old style systems. They revive an old streetcar line. They purchase old vehicles and restore them, or sometimes they'll get replica vehicles of the streetcars that they had, or streetcars that they never had just because they think it's cool or whatever. That's not what we're talking about here. That's its own category. I view these as more of a tourist attraction where tourists will flock to your city to go ride your streetcars and take pictures of it, and take selfies on it to make it look like a selfie that was taken in 1931 or whatever. To be fair, I do think that these systems have their place, and I think they are absolutely awesome, and it's so cool to see old-style streetcars, and it keeps the history of that city alive and well. But that's not what this video is talking about. The second thing I'm not going to be talking about here is the Tacoma Link in Washington. Yes, it uses streetcar vehicles, but it is technically a light rail system. That can be debated on for hours and hours on end, but because it is not officially classified as a streetcar system, I will not be covering it here. Personally, I still call it a streetcar. I use both terms interchangeably when talking about Tacoma, but officially, that's not what it is. Okay, now time for rapid-fire information about all of these systems in the year that they opened. This will also include some of my opinions. Seattle, Washington. They have 2 disconnected lines and first opened in 2007. Total length is 3.8 miles, and the vehicles run every 10 to 12 minutes. The lines are called the South Lake Union streetcar and the First Hill streetcar, and they also use these same 65-foot mini streetcars. In fact, unless otherwise noted, assume that they use these small vehicles. Salt Lake City, Utah. One line, opened in 2013. It's 2 miles and runs every 15 minutes. It also mostly doesn't run in mixed traffic, which is pretty cool. Also, they use the Siemens S70 as their trains, which are longer, can hold more people, and just seems to fit better with the idea of making a modern streetcar system. Tucson, Arizona. One line, opened in 2014, is 3.9 miles long and runs every 10 to 30 minutes. The schedule is not very specific. Some of these websites literally have no schedules to look at for their streetcars. They'll tell you the hours of operation and maybe the frequency if you're lucky. Guys, you gotta make your website actually have all the information about your system. Schedules are important. Atlanta, Georgia. One line, opened in 2014, is 2.7 miles long and runs every 15 minutes. They also use the Siemens S70s, which is pretty cool. Dallas, Texas. One line. Actually, unless otherwise noted, the rest of these just are one line. It opened in 2015, is 2.45 miles long, and runs every 20 minutes. Charlotte, North Carolina. Opened in 2015, 4 miles, and runs every 20 minutes. This system is super underrated. It's well designed and ends right at a major transit center in the downtown area. So good on you guys. Oh, and they also use the Siemens S700. Washington, D.C. Opened in 2016, has a system length of 2.4 miles, and runs every 12 minutes. They don't have a specific schedule that you can view either. I might talk about this more in the later videos, but super low-hanging fruit here. Can't you just extend the eastern terminus of the streetcar over the river and up Minnesota Avenue to connect directly with the DC Metro and another major transit center? That seems like a no-brainer extension that's not being built. That would provide an actual reason for people to use your streetcar if it connects to something. Kansas City, Missouri. Opened in 2016, 2.2 miles, and runs every 10 to 12 minutes. And that's as good of a frequency as you're going to get for these modern systems. 10 minutes. Gotta bump those numbers up. Many of the surviving first-generation systems run more than that. So good on Kansas City for at least recognizing that and trying to run them more frequently. They also use CAF Urbos 3 streetcars, which is a much more European model. Very interesting. Cincinnati, Ohio, opened in 2016, is 3.6 miles and runs every 12 to 15 minutes. I think this one's probably my least favorite of the new lines because it doesn't serve anything. It serves a baseball stadium, and that's about it. One cool thing, though, is it does also use the CAF Urbos 3. These streetcars were being designed at a time when United Streetcar went out of business, but before Brookville started making similar streetcars. So that is, I think, why they were purchasing some of the more European trains. Detroit, Michigan. Opened in 2017, is 3.3 miles long, and runs every 15 minutes. Not much to talk about with that one. Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Opened in 2018, is 2.1 miles long, and runs every 20 minutes. To be fair, they are on reduced schedule. Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. This one is 2 lines, which includes a downtown-only loop. This system opened in 2018, is 4.8 miles long, and runs every 11 to 15 minutes. This one's another one of my least favorite because the route on this thing just makes no sense at all. It turns left, and then it turns right, and then it turns left, and then right and left, and left and right and left, right, left, right, left. What is the route? What is that? That makes no sense at all. Way too confusing. It'd probably be easy to get lost. Tempe, Arizona, opened in 2022. That's right, literally at the end of May. This is a brand new system. It's 3.44 miles long and runs every 20 minutes. Orange County, California. This is kind of weird. This is scheduled to open in 2023. It has a system length of 4.1 miles, and I'm not sure if we know what the frequency of this line will be. What's interesting here is it's not dedicated to one city, it's just simply Orange County. Stay tuned for part 3, where I will teach you my ways of designing a good modern streetcar system, as well as part 4, where we discuss some of the actual problems with the existing systems. Stay tuned for that in-depth look next week.